Is the natural world really in crisis?
If we look at the fossil records, we can see very clear 5 extinction events. And the last one was about 60 million years ago. It's the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. And looking at the records, we can also see that it's natural to have the extinction of one species in 1 million species. What we see now is we have around 8 million species of animals and plants, and 1 million of them are threatened with extinction. And this makes very clear that we are in the 6th wave of extinction, and this one has been caused by human action. We are the asteroid this time, and if the dinosaurs did not have a chance when the asteroid hit and changed the weather and made the conditions impossible to survive, we do. It's in our hands to be the difference and to reduce biodiversity loss.
I think when we think about the impact of humans on the natural world, it's always happened. It's always been the case. If we were to be sitting where we are now 4,000 years ago in the Bronze Age, the people who would have lived here would have been cutting down trees, they would have been taking fish from the river, they would have been eating animals, they would have had an impact on the world that they live in. I think one of the changes that's happened as time has gone on is the speed and the breadth and the depth of impact has just continued to get bigger.
Is the natural world in crisis? Well, in one sense, no. If we look at the return of nature to disaster zones like Chernobyl, then clearly nature is resilient and humans have very little long-term impact. But of course, the natural world is something we rely on. So yes, the world is in crisis because humans rely on natural resources. We rely on the natural environment to sustain us. And clearly there are issues of ongoing trouble there. The real problem is that human impact on the environment is a form of violence. But unfortunately, much of that violence is hidden. When we think about violence, we can think of violence against the person, and it's a very obvious thing, someone being attacked, someone being killed. In the same way, loss of habitat, destruction of hedgerows, forests, and so on are very visible, but often they're at a distance from us. We rarely see that individual issues of violence. They're on the telly, but not in our backyard. One of the real problems here is something which is known as slow violence. It's the way in which, for example, in human populations, exposure to pollution, to toxic chemicals and so on can impact on health over a long term. But it's almost invisible. You can't picture it, you can't create images of it. In that sense, it's not really there. In the same way, the crisis in the natural world is an issue of slow violence. The steady loss of species, the incremental loss of habitats, etc., is driven by processes such as economics, politics, but are so slow that we really don't see the crisis coming on us in a very similar way to the climate crisis.